All right, now let's create a component for showing a list of reminders. So here in the source folder, let's add a new folder called components. And right here, we add a new file called reminderlist.tsx. Now, here in VS Code, I have a very useful extension called React.js code snippets. So go to the extensions panel and search for React.js code. You will find this extension called React.js code snippets. So with this installed, we can type RSF, that is short for React Stateless Function. Now, if we press enter, we get a basic function component. That's very useful. Now here I'm using a function component because that's what most people are using these days. Now here we have a compilation error over props saying parameter props implicitly has an any type. So to solve this problem, we need to use an interface to define the shape of props. So on the top, we create an interface called reminder list props. This is a naming convention a lot of people follow, so it's best to stick to this convention. Now, what do we need to pass to this component? A list of reminders. So we need another interface for defining the shape of our reminders. So we can say each reminder is going to have an ID, which is a number, and a title, which is a string. And then we can say in our props object, we're going to have a list of reminders, or we could call it items, whatever. This is going to be a reminder array. Okay. Now, it's very likely that we're going to use this interface in other parts of our application. So I'm going to take it out of this file and put it somewhere central. So back to our project. Here in the source folder, let's add a new folder called models. Now, some people prefer to call this entities or types or interfaces, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really matter. So here I'm going to add a new file called reminder.ts. Now, some people prefer to use Pascal naming convention here. So they name this file with a capital R because in this file, we're going to export a default type. That is the reminder interface. I'm not fussed about that. I prefer to use Pascal convention for naming my component files. So a lowercase r works for me. Now, back over here, let's grab this interface and put it right here. And we're going to export it as a default interface. Okay. Now, back to reminder list. Here we have a compilation error, so we press Command and period on Mac or Control and period on Windows and import this interface. Good. So this interface is ready. Now we can annotate props with reminder list props. The error is gone. So now in this component, we're going to return an unordered list, and then we're going to map each item in the list of reminders to a list item. So we can say props.items.map. We can also use object destructuring to simplify our code. So we can destructure the props parameter and pick the items property. That is better. Now we don't have to type props everywhere. So items.map, we're going to get each item and map it to a list item. Okay. Now here's the interesting part. If we hover our mouse over item, we can see that item is a reminder object. This is the benefit of using TypeScript in React projects. So all our objects are properly typed. There is no guesswork, okay? So we're going to render a bunch of list items. We're going to give each a key, which is going to be item.id. And over here, we're going to render item.title. This is another benefit of using TypeScript. When we type dot, we can see all the properties of our object and their type. So we're going to render item.title. Good. Now let's use this component in our app component. So let's go back to app.tsx. We're going to replace this button with a reminder list. So reminder list. Now here we have a compilation error because we haven't set the props. So we need to set items to an array of reminder objects. So first we need to import the reminder interface. Then we define an array of reminders. And for now, let's just add one object in this array. The ID is going to be 1 and title is going to be reminder 1. That's enough. Now we're going to pass that object right here. We're not going to do any state management yet. We just have a basic array that we're going to pass to the items prop. Now back to the browser. Let's refresh. Here's our reminder list. Good. Next, we're going to talk about state management.